Welcome to this machine learning case study. In today's video, we're going to be covering the paper titled Modeling the Phytoremediation of Formaldehyde from Indoor Air by Chamaedorea elegans using artificial intelligence, genetic algorithm, and response surface methodology. Formaldehyde is an air pollutant that is very toxic and carcinogenic. People are commonly exposed to this pollutant from indoor sources, including things like furniture, paints, and electronics. Formaldehyde can be removed from the indoor air via plant absorption and metabolization, which is also known as phytoremediation. And the authors used multilayer perceptron artificial neural network, or ANN, to model formaldehyde removal from indoor air using the plant species Chamaedorea elegans. So this is the experimental setup. As you can see on the left part here, this supplies the gas mixture supply with the formaldehyde polluted air. And that air is pumped into this plant chamber here, that contains the C. elegans plant, which is a palm species from the Araceae family. Then the outputted air that has been phytoremediated is sampled and evaluated. So a bit of an introduction into artificial neural networks. ANNs contain multiple layers, the input layer, one or more hidden layers, and an output layer that each have several neurons that are interconnected across each layer. The connections between these neurons, also known as weights, are evaluated to identify how changing the input affects the output. The input layer is where the network receives all of its information. The hidden layers process the data received from the input layer, and the output layer makes the final prediction. The authors applied a ANN model to identify complex and nonlinear relationships between the independent variables and the response variable with the goal of predicting the response variable. They calculated the difference between the predicted and actual response, then returned that value to the network with the weights and biases adjusted to reduce prediction error. And for this, they used the MATLAB R2014B software for all of their modeling. So this is a visual representation of the ANN. The input layer included formaldehyde concentration, relative humidity, light intensity, and total leaf surface area data. Only one hidden layer was applied here because of the small number of available datasets. The predicted efficiency was then outputted, and the prediction error was then reduced by adjusting the biases and weights. The network performance was then evaluated using 8 different training algorithms. These included the quasi-Newton, conjugate gradient with Powell-Beal restarts, Fletcher-Reeves conjugate gradient, Pollack-Ribere conjugate gradient, Liebenberg-Marquardt, scaled conjugate gradient, resilient backpropagation, and gradient descent. And the indicators used to evaluate performance were mean squared error, coefficient of determination, or the R-squared value, and the mean absolute error. Good results will display a low mean squared error and mean absolute error value, and a high R-squared value. So these are some example results. These left 4 columns here show factors with varying values associated with them to represent different conditions. This column here shows the actual formaldehyde removal efficiency as measured within the physical experiment. And this column shows the predicted values from the artificial neural network. As you can see, the artificial neural network typically was able to predict formaldehyde removal efficiency within about 1%. It was found that the Liebenberg-Marquardt algorithm showed the highest performance with the lowest error rate and the highest correlation coefficient between the laboratory results and the test data. It was also found that having 8 neurons in the hidden layer of the neural network resulted in the highest R-squared value and the lowest MSE and MAE for testing and all datasets. The artificial neural network results were also compared to the results of a response surface methodology or RSM model. And this found that the ANN error is a lot lower than the RSM error. As you can see, the data points of the ANN are a lot closer to this line than the RSM data points are. So to conclude, C. elegans was found to be effective at extracting formaldehyde from the air, and because it is a common indoor plant with low water requirements and high tolerance in low light conditions, that makes it a good candidate for indoor phytoremediation. The artificial neural network had a high capability in predicting the laboratory results for phytoremediation of formaldehyde from polluted air using the plant species C. elegans. So that's it for this case study. If you'd like to learn more, you can find the paper at this full citation. Thank you for watching.